Hi guys, I'm going to do a quick walk around video of my ktm390 Duke stunt build to try and help anyone out. A few do's, a few don'ts, a few things I've found that work, that don't work, and try and help anyone out that's looking to do a build in the UK or anywhere really, but the UK especially, as the parts for these are extremely hard to get hold of, to source, and information regarding these builds is limited online. So yeah, disclaimer, I'm not a YouTuber, videographer, or a blogger in any way, shape or form. So if I do or say anything wrong, please correct me in the comments. All criticism is welcomed. I am new to stunting. I've only been doing it a couple of years. So I'm not a professional, so please take all of this with a pinch of salt. I'm just putting it out there to try and help some people out that are looking for a bit more information regarding these builds, because it is limited. It is limited. It's not a popular build in this country, the 390 in the UK. But I've built a few stunt bikes now on my journey. Grom, 0304 636, DRZ, and yeah, they've all been fantastic, but I just wanted something somewhere in between. I jumped from a Grom to a bigger bike and it was just too much for me personally. You know, we're all different, we're all on our own journey, and I just wanted something a bit kind of mid-range, and this on paper fit the bill. It was light, it was nimble, it was still a big bike, but it wasn't as big and heavy as your MT-07s and your 636s. I just didn't feel I was ready to jump up to that, so I wanted something a little bit different, and on paper this kind of fit the bill perfectly. So yeah, but there just wasn't any info when I was building it. So yeah, I've had this a few months now, been running it a few months, done a few mods, found a few issues. So yeah, I'll do a quick video of what I've done, what works, what doesn't, and hopefully it'll help someone out. Because yeah, I struggled like mad to find any info about these bikes. Again, fantastic bike for stunting if you're looking for something a bit mid-range. They're thin, they're light, they're nimble, you chuck them about. Yeah, if you're still learning, you're still on your journey, highly recommend it. Fantastic bike. I am loving it. But yeah, the biggest issue for me was obviously the scary part when you read online about people blowing these engines up and blah, blah, blah. You know, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I thought they'd put this out. With the 636, that needed a breather mod doing to it under the tank, which again, you can Google 636 breather mod, stunt bikes. Plenty of info online about that. The DRZ required rerouting some pipes for the oil, the way the engine was positioned when you wheelie, and the oil kind of sunk back to the engine and then flooded the air filter. So you had to reroute some pipes up and over the tank so that the oil came out and went back in, and then reroute some breather pipes so you weren't clogging the air filter up with oil and bits and bobs. Again, loads of video and info regarding that online, but nothing about these. So I was really, really concerned. I found a company called Stunt and Wheelie School, I believe. They're in the Netherlands. They run these. They do a balance point wheelie school course, and they're running these all day, every day. So I contacted them. They were kind enough to get back to me with a few concerns I had, put my mind at rest, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Bagarose, them guys. There's a KTM sponsored stunt rider, phenomenal talent. He runs all the different KTMs, 390s, 790s, the big Dukes. Yeah, he runs them all. I DM'd him and he was nice enough to get back to me and put my mind at rest as well. So like I say, the biggest issue for me was the oil and breather mods, whether they needed it, what the issues were. And they both came back and pretty much said the same thing. They don't really need anything. The only issue is the oil. Obviously, given the position you're in and how long you're in it for when you're wheeling or circling or whatever you're doing, obviously they're going to burn a little bit of oil and it's going to spit back into the air filter a tiny bit, but it really isn't anything significant. Yeah, they both said the same thing. Just keep an eye on the oil. Just keep it topped up. Don't overfill it, because that can be just as detrimental as not having enough oil in there. So don't go mad with it, but just keep it topped up. Keep it where it should be, if not a few mil higher, they recommended. Just keep plenty of oil in there. Don't overfill it, but just keep an eye on it, depending on how often you're running it and how much you're riding. You know, every 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, little top up of oil and a clean of the air filter. That's all it needs. They've never had an issue with them. Anyone I've spoke to that's running these as a stunt bike has never had an issue. Like I say, it took some reaching out to people, but yeah, no one had a problem. And I've been running this a few months now. I haven't even had to top the oil up. So anyone that's blown these engines up, I would say it's probably down to lack of care, lack of maintenance. I'm sure there may be other contributing factors to their issues, but again, the professionals I've spoke to and me personally, not had an issue. Just get on them and brap them. Keep the air filter clean, keep the oil clean and topped up, and yeah, they should be fine. So hopefully that puts anyone's mind at rest regarding that. That, like I say, that was my biggest concern. So yeah, they're cool. Right, what I've done, let's start at the front. Within the first week, I think I popped the fork seals on this. There was a lot of travel in the forks. Again, bear in mind the 390 Duke is an A2 bike. It's not built with performance in mind. It is built to a budget, you know, consider that. So there are some things on there that can probably be upgraded and do need to be upgraded when stunting it. I'll say there was a lot of travel on the front forks. So when I did the fork seals, I put the thicker oil in that, and that seems to have done the job. The front end's lovely on that now. These bikes have got ABS sensors. This is a 2017. I think it's the second gen, I think. So yeah, they've got the ABS. So you take the ABS sensors off the front, off the back, tuck them away, reroute them, and under the seat you've got your fuse box. Take out the ABS fuse, and that's that eliminated. So once the ABS is deleted and you're upgrading your brakes, make sure you use a decent brake fluid, a high ballpoint brake fluid, something like Motul 660. I run in all mine, highly recommended. Front, rear handbrake, yeah, get that fluid changed in all of your braking systems. So yeah, front, like I say, just got rid of the ABS. I've taken all the clocks off. I didn't want to smash the clocks. So the clocks have been removed, all the lights have been removed, everything's been taken off, and all I did was stick an eBay motocross plate on the front. It just screws straight into the original mount there with the little Torx. I have it cable tied on the bottom, so all I have to do is undo the torque, drop that down, and I can plug my clocks in and see what's going on if I need to, but all the wires are tucked neatly behind there and out the way. The bars on most, if not all of my stunt bikes that I've had, I've put bigger risers on, bigger, you know, lifted the bars, new bars, spent the money and did all that. I haven't need to do that with this, I'll be honest. Because of the riding position on this is really, really nice. The seat's quite sunk and the original bars sit really, really well for me personally. And when you start lifting bars too high, you're going in the realm of having to reroute cables and pipes and get longer ones, and it's an expensive nightmare of a job. And yeah, I just personally haven't needed to do that. All I did just to lift them a tiny bit was literally stick a £30 eBay riser just there, 30 quid. It's about an inch and a half, I think it is, a little riser in between the original mount. Again, went through quite a few of these mounts off eBay and online. I won't bore you as to why, but none of them worked. None of them worked properly. So I used the original mount, which has a plate that comes off here where the clocks sit. Just chopped that off, bit of anti-rust paint, covered it with a bit of wrap that I've used to wrap the bike with, and used the original mounting for the bars, and a little £10 eBay top clamp there, just because it's a bit prettier. But yeah, so original bars seem to be in a nice position. Original mount, just some cheap and cheerful lifters. Job done. Everything fits and sits nice. Again, everyone's different. Some people like the bars positioned further forward, depending on how you ride and what you're doing. Some people would like them higher, but these are high enough for me. I find them more than comfortable. So yeah, the throttle and front brake is all original. Not needed to change that as of yet. Clutch, RSC. The eBay ones are okay. I've used plenty of them, but the ease of pull on this RSC, yeah, they are the best for a reason. They're second to none. But if you're in the UK, bear in mind, you are going to pay for it and you are going to pay import tax. So they're not cheap, but definitely worth the money. Clutch master. I had a friend that was getting rid of a 19mm Brembo. It's actually a brake master, which I've just used and reversed. So that was free. Sweet. But if you were to buy one, I wouldn't recommend 19. I'd go down 16, 13. It doesn't need to be a 19. That's quite gnarly for the rear brake, I ain't gonna lie. But it was free, so happy days. I've got used to it now. But yeah, if you are purchasing one for the 390, it's not a big heavy bike. Yeah, 13, 16 should be more than sufficient for that. Obviously, custom line, you can get them online, made to length. Just measure the length you need. I think that was about 30, 40 quid. Wasn't expensive. Down to the rear, where we have the handbrake bracket. Now, the Bagaros guys, and there's a few companies that sell these. Again, they're not cheap. The cheapest one I found was on eBay from a company in Thailand. It was £220, so I bought that. As many things in life, they're cheap for a reason. I'll be honest, this didn't fit properly. I wasn't overly happy with it. 220 quid, plus it was about 50 quid import tax, 50, 60 quid, so bear that in mind again if you're in the UK. The hole didn't line up properly for the spindle to go through, so it wasn't the end of the world. I took this to a machining company, and for 20 quid, they just milled it out, just a couple of mil, and it fits lovely now. So yeah, I did email them regarding that. I don't know if they're all like that or I just got a bad one. I did email them, but no response. The caliper, I did have a 32mm single Brembo for the foot brake that again a friend gave me, so it didn't cost me any money, but it just wasn't sufficient enough. I'll be honest, it was very weak. So I spent the money and bought a 34mm dual Brembo, and that is absolutely brilliant for the foot brake. That works a treat. These brackets run a GSXR caliper, which again I bought that off eBay second hand. Checked it out, good seals, tested it, happy days. That was about 60 quid. GSXR caliper fits these. Obviously good pads in them, spend the money, put some decent pads in. The rear disc I found wasn't brilliant on the standard bike. Again, it's not a performance bike from factory, so even with these calipers and decent pads and good fluid, you know, running it all properly, it was still, I don't know, it just weren't right for me. Again, everyone's different, so I upgraded the disc, and yeah, I've gone through a few different calipers, few different pads, few different discs. I'm really happy with it now, so highly recommend uprated disc. Again, 50, 60 quid off eBay, they're not too much. 34 dual Brembo for the foot brake, and your radial GSXR caliper for the handbrake, and the braking system on this now is perfect. I'm super happy with that. The foot brake comes with a tiny little lip on it, and I found, again, given the riding position and the cage and how you sit, it was quite difficult to catch with your feet. It was hard to get on. So this is a bit of a home mod. Obviously we've just welded some bolts together and welded it on the original screw into there. So I've extended the foot brake. This is so much easier to catch now when you're in a seated wheelie position. So I would highly recommend anything you can do to extend or create a bigger flat platform for your foot brake. I'm going to wrap that up and make it a bit prettier, but that is highly recommended because it is easy to slip off this. Exhaust, again, the standard original exhaust is in the way of everything, so it comes straight off at the cat. And this, again, was literally 12 quid delivered off of eBay. Tiny little muffler pipe, and it actually sounds pretty cool, I ain't gonna lie. So yeah, that's again a nice cheap easy fix. That's all tucked under there at the weight. Job done. The rear suspension, again, it's a small road bike originally, so the rear suspension had quite a bit of travel. Was quite boggy. I've wound it up as much as it will go. Some people do upgrade these rear shocks, but again, it's a stunt bike. I'm trying not to spend ridiculous amounts of money because I'm going to break things, and I will upgrade other things as I go along. But yeah, I wound it up as much as it will go, and it seems absolutely fine. Yeah, just adjust it as far as it will go, stiffen it up, and yeah, I'm standing on the back pegs and starting to circle, and yeah, there's not much travel in it now. That seems to have done the job, so that's good as gold. Crazy iron cage, I think was a few hundred quid plus import tax. The import tax on that was about 60, 70 quid, so bear that in mind. That's a bit of a stinger. There's not many options when it comes to cages for these. I went for crazy iron. It looked like it did, covered the most surface area and protected it the best. Visually, it looked the part, but I did have some issues with it. I'm not going to lie. There is another video I've posted online about the weak points and the problems I've had with this. So yeah, if that's of interest to you, go and watch that. Definitely go and watch that. On this side, I think that's it. Yeah, you got your rear scrape bar with pegs, which I got from, I think it's Steady Garage. Yep. That's been amazing. I can't remember off the top of my head how much that was. Go online and type in Steady Garage. Again, import tax on that was about 50, 60 quid. Bear that in mind if you're in the UK. Some grip tape on that, that's good as gold. Obviously taking the rear light out the back, so I'm not smashing plastic and throwing that all over the lot, and gives me a bit more room for my foot. There's plenty of room under there just to stick a cheap and cheerful tail tidy on there. If you are running them on the road and you want a tail tidy, they'll fit under that quite fine. Ooh. Yeah, so the rear Steady Garage cage, lovely. Crazy Iron main cage, issues with that's online. Even with this cage, bar ends, pegs, and all the protectors, I did have a pretty mean crash the other day and actually caught the casing, which I was a bit gutted about. I don't know how, but it must have bounced quite a bit to catch underneath there. I went online, and again, eBay special, they actually sell a little slider plate that covers this, and it just bolts here, 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 here. It was about 30 quid for both sides, so they should be here the next couple of days actually. So they do sell something that sits over the bottom of this casing to protect that, so I don't damage that anymore. You can get them online, that is available. You can see it's still going to hit bits and bobs of the cage, but it's there to do a job. These little things, 10 quid off eBay, they're called bumper sliders. They just bolt on. They take a good bit of the grunt as well, so they'll help to keep your cage a bit nicer for a bit longer. I'm going to buy some more of them and stick some more around about the place, but that's a good little cheap mod. Bang them on your cage to keep it nicer for longer. Chain and sprocket. Again, the sprocket, most I found online were 48 tooth from the bigger companies. Again, not cheap. And then you bear in mind delivery and import. It all adds up, man, it really does. There's a company in the UK I use called WSC Performance. They are absolutely fantastic. I've used them for all my chains and sprockets. I just email them with my specifications. They get straight back to me, and they're good on price as well. This, I had one down on the front, heavy duty did chain, and I had them make me a custom 50 tooth sprocket for the rear. All of that was like 170 quid delivered, done. So yeah, really, really good value for money. But if I'm honest, it's probably a bit too much for the Duke, I'm not gonna lie. If I were to do it again, or if I have the money to change it in the near future, I wouldn't go down one on the front, and I would stick to a 48 on the back. This as a setup is quite talky, I'm not gonna lie. It's great for drifting and rolling burnouts and all of that, but because the bike's so light and the seating position and just how it's framed, I don't think it needs it. Again, everyone's different. It's just my personal opinion. I would stick to the original size front sprocket and 48 on the back. I think that's going to be enough. So I'm going to go down a couple of teeth on this. Want to get the chance. Again, you can get a chain guard off eBay. They're pretty cheap, a few quid, just in case you do roll over and catch your foot on that. And it's a bad time. So yeah, I think that's everything. Oh, wider tyre. Yeah, they come from factory with 150, 60 17s. That's a 160. You can get away with an extra 10 mil. It definitely helps. Definitely helps because they are a thin tyre and it is a light bike. So a wider tyre on the back, I have found, is a must on these, to be honest. Yeah, the standard tyre is super thin, so a little bit unstable when circling. But again, I'm still learning. I'm still an amateur. I'm sure proper riders wouldn't have an issue with it. Someone more experienced and more skilled than me, but yeah, for me, learning the slightly bigger tyre was a massive help. There are some things electrically, like the kickstand. You can actually buy online a little delete plug. You can just take the wires off, snip them and wire them in and bod job it so that you don't have the kickstand as an issue cutting you out if you accidentally bump it or knock it when wheeling. But they do sell a little plug for it online, believe it or not. Again, eBay. Yeah, I think that was about 12 quid from Poland. Yeah, send a lovely little plug to you that just deletes that, so you don't have to chop any wires. You can keep that tidy. I think that is everything. I think that's everything. That's everything I've found so far, and everything I've done so far. So yeah, I hope this helps anyone that's contemplating buying one of these and turning it into a stunt bike. I highly recommend it. It is a fantastic bike. I've only been running it a few months. I'm still getting used to it, but loving every minute of it. It's perfect. It's light, it's nimble, and yeah, it just suits me. It suits me personally. Like I say, everyone's different, but it suits me perfectly. So if anyone's thinking about doing one of these, hopefully I've covered most things I've found. I will find things in the future and may cover alterations in the future, and I will upload videos regarding that when I do. So yeah, in the meantime, if you've got any questions, if there's anything I've missed, or yeah, like I say, anything that you can think of that I've missed, or anything you want to ask me, please drop me a message and I'll do my best to help out any way I can. Cool. All right, guys. Sweet.